My husband and I have been married for 6 years and together for 8. He has a teen son, Lucas. Lucas's mom died when he was 5 years old. I came into our marriage with Bryn, who's a tween now, and Miley, who's a younger tween. Together, my husband and I have Alec, who's a kindergartner. So Bryn and Miley are Lucas's stepsisters, and Alec is his half-brother. Lucas has this trinket box with a couple of small trinkets inside of it that his mom left for him when she died. He mostly keeps it in his room, but he sometimes walks around with it in his hand. I've always told my kids, it's not theirs. They're not to touch it unless Lucas says they can, and they cannot pester him about it. When we first got married, Miley was really fascinated with it and did want to touch it, but I nipped it in the bud since it was so special. Regarding the dynamic, Lucas is very closed off from the kids and me. I've always tried to bond with him, but he is so withdrawn around me. Therapy, which we did when we first got married, did not get us onto a path of being close, though I never expected to be his mom, and I don't want that considered. About a month ago, we were having dinner, and my husband cracked a joke that Lucas seemed to care more about the trinket box than us, after Lucas refused to let Alec get a closer look at it. Lucas said very seriously that the box meant more than the kids and me, and he would gladly trade us to save the box if anything happened to it. My husband was shocked that Lucas spoke so seriously, and the girls got upset about it. Alec wasn't paying attention when it was said. My husband took Lucas aside to speak to him, and I spoke to the girls. They told me Lucas had said that before, that he would trade our lives to save his box, that we better hope he's never asked to keep one of us or the box, because the box would win. He said this to them on a few occasions over a period of time. They never told me because they didn't know how to bring it up. He told Alec the same as well. My husband said Lucas would need therapy because he saw nothing wrong with saying that honestly. I told him he was saying it more to the kids when we didn't overhear. My husband said that the therapy would get to the bottom of things. A few days later, Lucas is telling Bryn that he'd save his friends over the box, but not her. I told my husband about it, and he said it would be mentioned to the therapist. He had a consultation with one the next day. Lucas argued that he didn't need therapy, and that just because he doesn't care about us or our lives doesn't mean there's something wrong with him. I told my husband that given Lucas's attitude toward the kids, they would no longer show up to cheer him on at any sports games or the like. My husband argued, we're still a family. I told him my kids do not need to cheer on the boy who has told them to their faces multiple times that their lives are meaningless to him. My husband thinks I'm overreacting and I would be wrong to do this. Am I the idiot? Why the heck does this topic of saving someone over the box keep popping up like that at dinner? Everyone's the idiot here, except the kids. Honestly, it sounds like this toxic environment was brought about by the adults. Your husband's comment during dinner should have never happened. Why would you ask something like that to a teenager who is clearly missing his mother? There's a decade worth of info missing. Your stepson is only a mid-teen. Just leave him alone and let your kids have the choice to go or not to go to his games. 100% agree. Leave the kid alone. Are you expecting the therapist to fix him? It's not just the children who need therapy. You and your husband helped create and foster this dynamic. You're part of the issue here, to be blunt. And don't try to claim you're in therapy, because no reasonable therapist is going to support your idea that when a hurting teen says something, lashing out at younger step or half siblings, the best way to fix that is to retaliate by not supporting him. If you're in therapy, you need another therapist. I suspect the box that the boy carries around can be the literal only thing he has from his mother, and that's why he's so protective of it. My heart breaks for this poor kid. I don't blame him for what he said, and I completely understand it. Andy's got a family who treats his mom's death like a curiosity or a joke, or who shows signs of having moved on completely. Maybe it would be good for him to know his father still misses her and thinks about her too. If I were him, I'd only save the box too. My dad died unexpectedly and was relatively young. My younger sister was a toddler at the time. Her hair was a lot like his, It's super curly. Because of this, our mom did a lot to maintain it. Growing up, Mom would spend hours on my sister's hair. Every morning was dedicated to the two of them in the bathroom, with my sister screaming and crying because brushing through it was long and unpleasant. Until she was a young teen, Mom insisted on washing and styling my sister's hair. She never let her cut it or dye it. When someone suggested trimming it, they were kicked out of the house. I won't lie, Mom was controlling at times, but I thought we all knew it was because of grief and memory of our dad. Well, Mom died, and the first thing my sister did was get her hair chopped incredibly short and dyed. She sent me and my siblings a picture of her new haircut with the caption, "Sharon, our mom, always said I would grow my hair down in my butt. Not anymore." I thought it was my sister's way of grieving, but now she mentions it a lot, like asking how angry I think Mom would be if she saw my hair this short. I told her after the 5th comment to stop acting like her haircut was a big achievement. It's not. Millions of people get haircuts, and she should know her hair was important to Mom because it reminded her of Dad. She said she wasn't supposed to be Sharon's doll or a replacement for our dad. She should have been her own person, and if I can't respect that, she doesn't need me in her life. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. How about some empathy? Your sister was traumatized by your mother, who essentially abused you. She's finally found freedom, and you can't be happy with her? The jealousy oozes from this story. You see your sister as the golden child. She's a victim. It's telling that sister calls her mother by her name instead of Mom. Hun, it wasn't just controlling. Your mother was abusive. I wasn't allowed to cut my hair until the 1st grade. It was already below my butt. I was a little kid sitting on my own hair. Finally, my father's the one who said, if she wants to cut it, she should be allowed to cut it. I went in with over 2 feet of growth and came out with a bowl cut, the only name of a short haircut I knew. It was absolutely an accomplishment for me. Part of the problem is that it sounds like OP had a much better relationship with their mom. I think OP actually grieved for their mom's death and missed them, whereas for OP's sister, her mom's death was just the end of a cycle of abuse and being treated as her mother's doll. OP needs to realize that cutting her hair is a big deal for their sister because she was constantly abused, and that just because OP wasn't subjected to this and OP's mother provided for them and probably loved them both in her own twisted way, that it doesn't mean she wasn't toxic. OP is definitely the idiot for minimizing their sister's trauma, and both of them would benefit from therapy. I, 38 female, have 3 kids, all girls. April, nearly adult, May, pre-tween, and June, kindergartner. April and May have the same father. He passed when May was 2. June is the result of a one-night stand. He pays support but rarely sees her. I work 3 jobs to keep us afloat and have told the girls we need to support each other to make it. The problem is April doesn't want to. I get it, she's a teenager and wants to live life, but I really need her help, either watching the girls or cooking and cleaning, just little things. Here's where I was an idiot, I think. I found out she had a job. The bank sent some statements to the house. She does have an account, and I'm the guardian. I read it and saw she would make withdrawals after every deposit, just enough to keep the fees away. I yelled at her for being selfish, how her sisters have had to miss out, and how she could have been helping us. She screamed I took her entire childhood away, and I won't take her future. The little ones were crying, so I'm trying to comfort them and get through to April. She said she was leaving, and I told her to stay away until she was ready to be a part of this family. Friends and family have called me an idiot who shouldn't have expected a child to be another pillar of the family. Some have said I was wrong, but so was April, and that we need to compromise, and maybe she pays me rent. I don't think there's anything wrong with expecting each family member to help the family. Even my youngest helps by cleaning. So am I the idiot for expecting my daughter to help with the family? You are the idiot. Reading between the lines, I'm betting that April spent a lot of her childhood being used by you as a free babysitter and housekeeper just because she was the eldest. Now she's had enough and is rightly planning for her own future away from you and your demands. You found out she has a job, So presumably she didn't tell you, and you then went snooping and found her bank statements and read those and screamed at her for basically daring to spend some of her own money and not letting you get your hands on it. So you're not just looking for support via chores. You're looking for your oldest daughter to financially support her younger siblings while still being a child herself. You have 3 children. The oldest isn't there to prop up your failings to support the family. She isn't there to take on the responsibilities for your life choices that didn't work out for you. She said she was leaving, and I told her to stay away until she's ready to be a part of this family. Big yikes. Cinderella has had enough of your BS, so you either better start listening to her or accept a low contact or no contact relationship going forward. I understand family pulling together and helping each other in tough times, but it sounds like you tried to rely on your eldest as if she were an adult. She's your kid, not your maid or your personal bank. My wife, 26, and I, 27 female, have been together for 6 years and married for 2. Our marriage is usually perfect, and we just had a beautiful baby boy a few months ago. However, my wife had a tough pregnancy, so she took 3 months off work and became a stay-at-home mom. She and I have been swamped for the last year because of this and have both gained weight. I gained 25 pounds and she gained nearly 80 pounds. So we decided together we needed to make changes. I've been going to the gym in the morning, but she says she doesn't have time with the baby, which I understand. I also usually work late, so I assumed she'd be making healthy dinners since she's at home. And she did this for a couple of weeks. But then she got back into buying unhealthy fast food. We spoke about this many times, and she said she would try to make time, and it seemed great until I realized I had lost almost 15 pounds, and she had gained 5. We had a discussion about it, and she was immediately very defensive and admitted when I wasn't at home, she gets herself fast food and doesn't work out at all. I know she's insecure about her body, and to be honest, I don't find her very attractive anymore either. Of course, I don't say this to her face. Instead, I decided to try and help her. And this is where I may have messed up. For her birthday, I got her a Peloton, a diet food delivery service subscription, and a couple of classes at a fancy gym near our house that she could attend while I babysit. When she first saw her gift, she insisted that it was all too expensive and I should take it back. But I assured her she was worth it. After a while of going back and forth, it spiraled into a fight where she said she had been struggling with the baby and I was trying to get her to lose weight instead of actually helping her. I want to clarify that I think losing weight would help her feel better physically and mentally, but she insists I'm being an idiot. Am I the idiot? Edit. I work 50 to 60 hours a week, and I help with our son whenever I can. My wife also chooses to be a stay-at-home mom and refuses to put him in daycare. She's an amazing wife and mother, and we rarely have problems or fight. I only wanted to help her a bit. Husband body-shaming wife who just had a baby. Check. Husband offering to babysit his own child. Check. Husband thinks exercise equipment is an appropriate birthday gift. Check. It's an idiot trifecta. I like how he didn't offer to help with meal prep or go on family walks together. Help her more with the baby so she's rested enough to take care of herself. Being a stay-at-home mom to a newborn is exhausting and never-ending. When is she supposed to ride the Peloton while the baby's nursing? Also, nothing worse than starting a workout to have to stop it 10 times in 5 minutes because the baby needs something. And yeah, fathers don't babysit unless they're taking the 1900s dads aren't involved with raising the child at all approach. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason she's gaining weight was because of all the pressure he puts on her. Right now, losing weight is not her priority, and she has other stuff he should help with. Yet this dude is constantly checking up on her. Probably would just put more stress on her, causing her to stress eat, which makes her gain weight, which makes her feel bad about herself, and just repeats in a vicious cycle. Seriously, OP, what the heck? Help your wife with house chores. Help your wife take care of the baby. Stop being a nag about such superficial BS and be the man she needs. Actually, don't help your wife with chores and parenting. You live there. It's your house, your kid. She shouldn't have to ask for your help. You should be taking care of those things and not just expect her to take care of everything and ask if she needs help. Ugh! You make her feel uncared for by your lack of involvement in these essential things and make her feel like crap for her weight. You're so the idiot. My family has a name traditionally used for the first boy in each family for generations. I'm James Lawrence. 2 of my cousins, my dad and 3 of his cousins, my grandfather, my great-grandfather and his cousin, my great-great-grandfather, and my great-great-great-grandfather all had the same name. One of my cousins is expecting his first son and has already announced that he will continue the tradition. So in another month, we will have 9 living family members of the family named James Lawrence. My wife and I are expecting a son. We already decided we would not be continuing the tradition. I never wanted to continue it. Having the same name as so many living family members has been the biggest pain in my butt. And I'm the same age as one of my cousins, and we grew up 5 minutes from each other and went to the same schools. When I tell you it brought so many complications into my life, I am not exaggerating. My parents were so excited when they heard we were having a boy, and I told them immediately that we're not naming him James Lawrence. I told them the tradition, as far as my side of the family is concerned, has ended, and I will not encourage it to be continued by my children in the future. But of course, it is up to them ultimately. My parents did not like it and started asking what we did plan to name our son. We told them they would find out in time, and he'd be born before we announced his name. Ever since, they've attempted to tell my wife and me how hurt they are about our decision and how they think it's a bad one. When they realized how little I cared, they focused more on my pregnant wife and attempted with their thoughts on it to guilt her. So I put my foot down recently and told them some traditions need to end, and they don't need to tell us what they think of that because we do not care, and we will not change our minds based on what they think or want. My parents told me I was being callously dismissive, seeing as that they loved the tradition and always believed I would love it one day too. I told them they believed that because they never listened to me, but they need to accept it. So my parents stormed off and told me I needed to grow up and realize I have a childish hatred for the tradition. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I can understand first son in every generation. Not obligatory, of course, but every firstborn son? It's confusing and ridiculous. Like in some comedy, where members of one family are called James, Jimmy, James Sr., James Jr., James Jr. III, Little James, Big James, Jamie, Holy James, Fat Jimmy, Jimmy Jim, King James, Freckled Jimmy, and so on. Wow. How in the heck do conversations even work? Like, how do they know who's being talked about? No offense, but your parents are pretty narcissistic and childish themselves. I would have freaked out on them by now. Congrats on the baby. I hope they love their name. I remember watching an episode of 8 Simple Rules. I can't exactly remember the details, but it went something like this. When being taught to make a roast, the mother cut the ends off it. The daughter asked why. The mother said, "That's how my mother taught me." The daughter goes to her grandmother, asks the same question, and gets the same reply. The daughter goes to her great-grandmother and asks, "Why do you cut the ends off the roast?" The great-grandmother replies, "Because the pan wasn't big enough." Not all traditions should be carried on.